Welcome back to Talk of the Town on 99.7, 1450 WHTC and WHTC.com.
And we welcome you back to Talk of the Town for this Friday, January 22nd. I'm Gary Stevens. We'll be open line following the 11 o'clock news, but we are joined, as we are most of the time are on the fourth Friday of the month, to talk law enforcement with Ottawa County Sheriff Steve Kempker. He joins us via the Zoom connection. Steve, good morning. Welcome back to Talk of the Town, and Happy New Year to you, sir.
Same to you, Gary. It's good to be back.
Glad you are with us. And if you wish to converse with Steve and I, we'll be happy to chat at 395-1450, 395-1450. Steve and I are in a purple patch right now in terms of what we're wearing. So, or shall we say it's violet. But anyway, we move forward, and because people can't see it, they will see it on the video aspect of this in a little bit. But anyway, a new year. I'm going to ask you a question that normally, let's get to a call, and hopefully it's for you. Good morning. You're on the line with Ottawa County Sheriff Steve Kempker.
Yeah, I got a simple question. I live in rural Ottawa County, and I'm wondering what the laws are concerning golf carts on the roads.
Golf carts on the road. Steve, what's the deal with that?
Yeah, well, a non-street legal golf cart is not allowed on the roadway. And actually, I think we have some pretty good information. And, I can, if the caller would like, we can get his, not probably on air here, Gary. I don't know if you're able to grab. We'd be more than happy to make personal contact with him, or if he calls our office.
Call the Ottawa County Sheriff's Office. What's the non-emergency number, Steve?
Yeah, it's 616-738-4000. And he can ask for the sergeant of our traffic services unit, because some of these vehicles are allowed on the roadway if they are street legal. So some of these, like Razor type ORV vehicles, are allowed on the roadway under certain circumstances, and they meet the qualifications. Just a regular plain golf cart does not qualify. And again, it's something that we're starting to see a lot more of, even in our residential subdivisions. And sadly to say, we've had a couple fatal accidents that I'm aware of where people have either rolled the cart or somebody has fallen off the back of that cart. I have seen them in the middle of the night going down the roadway. Not a recipe that's going to turn out good. But again, there are some, if it is a street legal one, and sometimes, again, I've seen them, our deputies have seen them, that they're operating on the road that sets the windshield, the seat belts, the turn signals. And some of these newer ORV type vehicles do qualify to be street legal.
Okay, thank you.
I appreciate the call. 395-1450. Again, that non-emergency number if people need to get a hold of the Sheriff's Department to maybe report this type of situation again.
Yes, it's 616-738-4000. And they can also go through, if it's if they have a complaint of something like this, they can also go right through the central dispatch at the 911 to file a complaint or have an officer come out and investigate.
Okay. 395-1450, 395-1450. If you have a question for Ottawa County Sheriff Steve Kempker. Good morning. You're on the line with the sheriff.
Good morning. I got a question. I'm seeing an awful lot of cars driving around without license plates. What's that about?
Well, the state, and again, some of the things are starting to expire with the Secretary of State's office during the COVID situation. We do have quite a few vehicles where people were waiting for their appointments. There was a grace period given in there. We're seeing a lot of expired license plates also. However, that grace period,
I mean cars with absolutely no plate at all.
Oh, and right. not even a sticker, or not even a little piece of paper in the back?
No license plate at all.
Yep, and this is a result of COVID. They have not been able to get into the Secretary of State's office. So there was a grace period set there. They do have to carry with them their insurance and their paperwork, and like the receipt for the vehicle and that. But I believe that period has expired. And
Well,
I do
they
know.
can mail in for plates, can't they?
Well, the problem with the problem with the mail-in is the timing aspect of it.
Best of it, exactly.
And I think, and again, I'm no expert on the Secretary of State, Sheriff, or caller, but if you, I think in a situation where you want to get the initial plates, it's got to be, almost either in person. You can't really do it that much online.
Right. Most of them are private party sales. If you get a car from a dealership, they're going to be able to give you a temporary plate to put in the back window. Our deputies, they do still will stop a vehicle to check. To be honest with you, people during COVID did take advantage of this. We found everything from criminal activity afoot with vehicles without plates to somebody legitimately just purchased the vehicle. They had all the paperwork, and we send them on their way.
These are like older cars.
Oh yeah, and most of those you're going to see are private party sales. But again, now that things are starting to open back up, our deputies are enforcing that. And like I also mentioned, expired license plates, we see a lot of those right now. But again, that grace period on that is over, and you can be ticketed for the expired plates. Okay. The Secretary of State's office, is waiving the late fees if you do come in late for your plates if they're expired.
Okay. Well, I thank you and stay safe.
All right. Thank you very much for the call. 395-1450, 395-1450. A curveball for law enforcement involving temps. When a person has that paper where, it's temporary until they get their plate issued. It's nice, attach it to the back window so it can be seen. Problem is, more and more vehicles have tinted back windows. You just can't see that piece of paper, Steve.
And Gary, that has been a problem for years because even when I was working the road patrol, I'll be honest with you, get behind, and if the sun's reflecting off the glass, you can't see if it's there. I personally have pulled over cars and as I'm walking up on them, I'm like, oh, now I can see that piece of paper in that back window. Some states, and it's something that, I wish Michigan would look at, some states issue a type of plate that actually goes in, the temporary plate actually goes into the area of the license plate, which I think would be ideal because like you said, my personal vehicles, everything from the driver back is tinted and you just cannot see that piece of paper nighttime or, a sunny day, it's reflecting back. So it is something that, a lot of states do that temporary plate, which I think is ideal.
Let's get to the phones. Good morning. You're on the line with Ottawa County Sheriff Steve Kempker.
Hi. I do think that that last idea you mentioned from other states was a great idea because were there to be an abduction or a robbery or anything like this, there's no license plate to give because people aren't just buying and selling, and that's why they take them off. They take them off because they're expired. And there are hundreds, literally, of cars on the road with absolutely no identification, and I don't think that's safe to let that continue. And also, I was wondering something, and this is just a minor thing, and it probably has nothing to do with law enforcement, but in a state where we have a mask mandate for our large stores and so forth, they tell me that if a person tells them, well, I have a medical reason, I'm not wearing a mask, and they just don't wear the mask, is this totally legal to just, or can the authorities be called, or can the store refuse them service, or what's the answer to this? Right. Nobody wants to wear a mask. I mean, personally, my glasses fog up and I can't see the shop.
Yep. Let me get to Steve's answer, and I appreciate the call because I do have another caller coming in. First of all, Steve, for those who might have foggy glass issues, and I'm one of them, it's because the glasses are cold. You just got to warm up the glasses, maybe, hold them in your hand for a minute or so, and that'll take care of the fog. But as for the enforcement of the mask, that's a problem.
It is. And Gary, we have not had an issue here in Ottawa County. I think most people are following that rule. I know the conception is out there, well, I've had my shot, I don't have to wear a mask. From what I'm hearing from the doctors in public health is that even though you've had the shot, you should still wear your mask. But a store does have the right to ask somebody to leave the premises if they're not wearing a mask. And again, we have not had an issue here in the county. Some people do have a legitimate medical reason, and if they do, they would have a slip from their doctor. But again, we've been fortunate. Everybody, we ask normally for verbal compliance, but I have not known of an incident yet where we have been called in. Public health has, they're the main people behind the enforcement in that. They've, encouraged, I think, through education and that. But again, the encouraging news today is our numbers in Michigan look like they're coming down. I just listened to the governor that things are going to start opening up. And I think, things are working here, and things are going to start to open back up because it's been tough, very tough for everybody.
Good morning. You're on the line with Ottawa County Sheriff Steve Kempker.
Good morning. My question is this. I discovered a week or two ago that I'm driving on an expired driver's license. When I go online, it tells me that at 8 o'clock and noon every day that you can find new appointment availability. I have done that for several days without any availabilities. So then I went down to the Secretary of State's office on 8th Street, and the big sign out there says appointments only. So I feel like I'm stuck right now in trying to get my driver's license renewed. Do you have any suggestions?
I appreciate the call. I have another one coming. So go ahead, Steve. Can you give any help?
Well, I can't with the Secretary of State's office because I was kind of in the same boat this gentleman was in a few months ago. It just it's frustrating, and our officers know that it's frustrating, and our deputies and other law enforcement, I think, have been very good that if they do run into somebody, but there I think is such, and we're seeing it even on our records, and there's such a backlog at the Secretary of State's office that they're trying to catch up. I'm hoping now that the governor's opening things up a little bit, that the Secretary of State's offices start to open, because we're all experiencing this, and it's frustrating. I've been there. I've been online trying to get stuff done, and you can't. You try to get through a phone call, and you get put into a voicemail system, or you leave an email message and you can't get any response. So it's been very frustrating, and we're seeing our backlog here at the sheriff's office, like with fingerprinting. By appointment only, but we're trying to get things pushed through. But I totally understand and feel for the caller there with the Secretary of State's office issues.
Peg's got a follow-up on that.
I just want to jump in. I will put the question to the Secretary of State that you just mentioned, Sheriff. And I just want to mention, I also just went through the same process. I had to make an appointment online. It took there was one a couple of weeks in advance. So I had to wait a couple of weeks to get in. However, once I did get into the office, they were very efficient. I don't think I was there 20 minutes. It's the shortest Secretary of State stay I've ever had. I renewed my plates and my license. They even took one of those pictures. They actually took a second one because the first one was so bad. And there were a lot of people in there, but they were very socially distanced. Some of us had to wait outside so that we could, till they would let us in. So just be aware, you can make the appointment online, but if you don't have computer access, do try to find a friend or family member who can help get you that appointment for in-person service.
Yeah, and also with that, what Peg mentioned is, a lot of those, we have noticed those appointments are 3 to 4 weeks out from talking with people. I believe you have the availability, and Peg, correct me if I'm wrong, you were on the site, that you can print off a copy of your appointment. And I would recommend that you would carry that with you.
Oh, that's a good idea. Mine was emailed to me also.
Okay.
Like an auto reminder kind of thing. So
Sure.
Yeah, those are two things. Good point.
All right, let's get to the phones because they have been very busy. 395-1450. I think I have time for a couple more calls. Good morning. You're on the line with Sheriff Steve Kempker.
Good morning. First of all, I want to commend you and your force for all the work you do, putting your life on the line every time you go out. Appreciate that. My question is, I have seen a number of cars with these blue headlights, and when you meet them, they almost blind you. Is that legal, or is that standard equipment on a car? What's going on?
Okay, I'll have Steve answer the question. You can listen off air. Thank you very much for the call, Steve.
Yes, Gary, some of those headlights, most of those are an aftermarket when you see the heavy blue look to them. I know a lot of the newer cars, especially with the new LED lighting on vehicles, they are extremely bright. And it is laid out in the motor vehicle code of what that brightness should be. But some of the aftermarket lights, our officers, are versed in that law. But again, if they are too bright, that also creates, like the caller said, issues. And again, I think we've all been there at night, either somebody driving with their brights on forgetting to dim them, or these new lights. But most of those are an aftermarket install because the manufacturer cannot install any illegal equipment on a vehicle that's sold in this state that does not match up to the Michigan Motor Vehicle Code.
One more call before we button our conversation up with Sheriff Steve Kempker. Good morning. You're on the line with the sheriff.
Yeah, I had a legitimate time where I was pulled over by the sheriff last week, or maybe 2 weeks ago, and I inadvertently did not register one of our cars. It's in my wife's name, the plate, so I was expired. I was totally oblivious to it. But I was at fault. I drove immediately to the Secretary of State's office, and I used the outside, the vending machine or whatever it is to get my plates. All you needed, I think, was your date, the last 4 or 5 numbers of your VIN for your vehicle, and it transpired. I got to the downtown court to go get my ticket waived because that was what was offered to me within 10 days. It wasn't even in the system yet. That's how fast I got there. So don't be scared of the outside to get your plates done that way, or have them re-upped, because it was so easy, and I will do that from now on. It was great. So just a kudos to that. Thank you.
I appreciate the call. Those kiosks are very good, and I've seen one of those kiosks over at Peter Meyer's Legacy. So
yeah, and the kiosks are really the way to go. And again, I know people get frustrated with technology. You have kiosks in the airport, you have kiosks at your banks now. Some people are not as tech savvy, but again, I think they've made them very easily. And I was not even aware that the kiosk was available at the Holland Secretary of State's office, and that is absolutely great.
That is nice. That is nice. One final thing, Steve Kempker. So other things I want to ask you, but we do have to end the segment. I'm going to throw a curveball question at you, if you don't mind. You mentioned when a caller was talking about the lack of plates, and you found other criminal activity going on since that time. This is going to sound so quaint. Do you deputies still find people in the back seat? They got to say, "Out of the car, long hair."
No. No, Gary, I'm going to be honest with you. I've been with the sheriff's office for 31 years now, and prior to that, other law enforcement experience. And day to day, the things that occur do not cease to amaze me. I do want to credit our staff. When there's criminal activity afoot and we're made aware of it, or we find it, we act very quickly on it. I'm also extremely proud of our staff, our investigative staff. All of our major crimes are solved. We've recently assisted in putting a big dent in a lot of the cell phone store robberies that have been taking place. A lot of home invasions that were taking place. We had an issue with up in the Allendale area. We just successfully apprehended somebody there, and some of the other day-to-day activities. So we're not totally immune from crime here in Ottawa County. But again, we're proud, as I know, Chief Messer from Holland and Chief Hawk from Grand Haven and Chief Jungle from Zeeland, extremely proud of our staffs that are out there day to day still, and you've heard me say this before, making this a great community to live in and raise your family in, because we do have it good here in West Michigan. And, we do our best to provide the quality and professional law enforcement services that we do here in Ottawa County.
Steve Kempker, the Ottawa County Sheriff, we appreciate you joining us this morning on WHTC's Talk of the Town. Wish you and everyone with the Sheriff's Department well, and if all goes well, let's do this again next month.
We'll see you then. Thanks, Gary, and take care.
Thank you very much, Steve Kempker on 99.7 and 1450 WHTC.